What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to another James Bond 007 movie review as we're trucking our way through the James Bond collection, and we have now gotten through Timothy Dalton's James Bond 2 films, and we are heading towards the Pierce Brosnan era, and that will be next Friday's James Bond review, so stay tuned for that. But today we are talking about 1989's License to Kill. And this is a big thing for James Bond because James Bond has the license to kill. But in this movie, he gets his license to kill revoked because he's not following orders to get revenge for an old friend. You know what I mean? But this movie is directed by John Glenn, the last of his 5 Bond movies that he directed, and the 8th Bond movie he worked on total. He also worked on Her Majesty's Secret Service, The Spy Who Loved Me, and Moonraker as an editor. And now, you know, he was as director for For Your Eyes Only, A View to Kill, The Living Daylights, Octopussy, and now License to Kill. And this movie I actually genuinely liked, and it came down to the final scene for me. Legitimately the final scene. Because if you guys know me from the channel, I am a sucker, like just the ultimate sucker for a good love story. And you know, I love to see beautiful people getting together and smooching, you know, like that's a big part of my game, you know. I like that. I like it. I can't tell you why, but I do. I don't know why. But of course Timothy Dalton is Bond. In this second film as Bond, I actually quite like Timothy Dalton as Bond a lot. And throughout the film we got people like Robert Davi playing Sanchez, and he's like the big bad of the film, and how he ends up going out, I was like, satisfactory way to kill a big bad, you know. Like I was very happy with that. His little like girlfriend that's like more like a hostage is played by Talisa Soto, and she played Lupe Lamora, and we only ever hear her called like Lupe, but either way, she was gorgeous. But she was with the bad guy, so every time like Bond was near her, they hooked up one time, but it was also just like, I don't like them together. I think, you know, maybe Bond should be with the other chick he's been with the whole time, friggin' Pam, played by Carrie Lowell. And Pam was so gorgeous, but also like badass, right? Like she was, you know, not taking any shit from him, was like giving it right back, you know, was capable herself. She was a pilot, you know, so like, there's something about Pam that I absolutely adored, and by the end of the film, you know, she's like quite hurt that Lupe is like, Bond, come be with me. You don't need to go to her, you can be with me. And, you know, spoilers for this, but like, this isn't the plot of the movie, this is just something that made the movie for me. But, you know, at the end of the movie, spoilers for people that don't want to know, Lupe's like, Bond, be with me, and like kisses her, and like Bond sees Pam run away like kind of crying. And even like Q, who has been in all of these films, friggin' 17 different movies as Q, friggin' Desmond Llewellyn, I think I said that right, but he's great as Q, but he's like an old man, and he even recognizes that like, oh, she really likes you, Bond, but you're screwing it by being a spy and being the ladies' man that you are. And he ends up, you know, seeing this and chooses correctly. Instead of choosing the girl that was with the bad guy, he leaps off the balcony into a pool and then pulls her into the pool, and they're kissing in the pool, and she's all happy, and it ends on a happy note and a happy little ending there. And I was like, that was such a satisfactory ending to me. The credits roll on getting exactly what I wanted, because the whole time he's like kissing the other girl, I'm like, no, Bond, no, you need to go back with Pam. Pam's the real winner here. Pam's the girl you marry, you know, like, come on now. And it does seem like maybe they live happily ever after, but we'll never know, because Timothy Dalton's Bond is done, you know, he's not coming back. And it's great little 2 movies here for him. I'm sure they could have kept Roger Moore for these 2 movies, but maybe they just wanted a slightly younger face. Maybe Roger Moore had enough. But he eventually was like, you know what? I'm done. Even the director was like, I'm done. And then by the time we get to Pierce Brosnan, some years removed from here, because this is 89, I think Pierce Brosnan's first one is until like 95, maybe? Yeah, GoldenEye is until 95. Tomorrow Never Dies, 97, Die Another Day, 2002, The World Is Not Enough, 1999. Hey, that's when I was born. And then we head into the Daniel Craig era of Bond, you know, so I'm so here for the Bond franchise, and just, oh god, I'm so excited for that Bond video game coming out in May. I can't wait to hear more about Denis Villeneuve's Bond. So make sure you guys stay tuned for my boy Pierce Brosnan's Bond coming next week. But just to close out today's show with the score I gave this out of 5 stars, and the little Letterboxd synopsis reads, James Bond is out on his own and out for revenge. After capturing the notorious drug lord Franz Sanchez, Bond's close friend and former CIA agent Felix Leiter is left for dead and his wife is murdered. Bond goes rogue and seeks vengeance on those responsible as he infiltrates Sanchez's organization from the inside. Yeah, that sums it up pretty much. You know, there's some insane explosions in this movie, like, and you can just tell they used real explosions by how big they were, and, you know, couldn't plan for how big they were going to be and how bright they're going to be, you know, like, real fire is so much brighter than people ever expect, you know, that's why you can always tell if it's CGI fire or not, you know, but, yeah, friggin' Felix Leiter, I thought he died, but then at the end they show him in a hospital bed, and I was like, oh, okay, so he just got nibbled on by a shark, he didn't die, Bond was able to get him to the hospital, you know what I mean, but the wife, oh, the wife couldn't be saved. But they, before they go to Felix's wedding, they're like capturing the bad guy at the beginning of the film, and they're like in a helicopter above a plane, and they like rappel down, grab onto the plane, he like rips the guy out of the plane, they skydive, and then they end up at the wedding. And I was like, dude, what a, like, just Bond movies, man. They knew that it was huge. They knew that it was, people were expecting a big spectacle, they were expecting explosions, guns, fights, women, beautiful guys, you know, like, they were expecting the most from Bond, and I think it's only gonna remain the same going forward, you know. And like little things in this movie, like Wayne Newton having a little cameo character as Joe Butcher, the professor who was like a fake ass auctioneer guy who was just like a perv, but he was in there for a quick minute. Bless your heart, you know, like Wayne Newton had me dying a couple times. And then a young Benicio del Toro was in there. So between the two bad guys being Robert Davi, who I recognize from some other things, he played a douche of a cop in the Die Hard movie for Bruce Willis. He also played a douche of a cop in Predator 2. So that's like where I recognize him the most. He was also the bad guy in Goonies. So it seems like this guy is a good bad guy, you know, like he's not necessarily the good guy, if you would. You know, it seems like he plays the bad guy incredibly well. But his nephew in the film was a young Benicio del Toro, and I want to say this was maybe Benicio's first film, you know, like how young he looked, but like Benicio's still acting, Oscar nominated for One Battle After Another. He was also the Collector in Infinity War and Guardians of the Galaxy. He had a minor role in Star Wars The Last Jedi, where he was like, he like turns on Finn and like, you know, betrays him. He was also in Thor: The Dark World, probably at the end post-credit scene where the Collector gets the red stone, if you would, but it's missed at that time, but gets turned into the reality stone eventually. It's complicated. He was also in Wes Anderson's Phoenician Scheme and The French Dispatch. The Phoenician Scheme I watched, it was pretty damn good in 2025, but it was also, you know, it's Wes Anderson, so you never know quite what to expect, and you know it's going to be weird, but I don't know if this weird rubbed me in the right way or the wrong way, you know what I mean? Where like some of his other films, like Grand Budapest Hotel or The Isle of Dogs, you know, those movies rubbed me in the right way. But overall for me, I gave this film 4 out of 5 stars, you know, and for Timothy Dalton's last film, License to Kill, great title, great song at the beginning, great Bond girls, great action, great villains, you know, and like maybe this is only a 4 out of 5 stars for me because they had people like Benicio del Toro and Robert Davi in there that I actually recognized from other things, and that goes a long way for me. You know, if I'm watching a film that's bad, but it's got a cast and it's got people in it that I enjoy watching, that will boost the score for a bad movie, you know what I mean? Like, so if it's not that great but it has an incredible cast, that goes a long way for me, you know? Like, I'm trying to think of something like that that's been like that recently for me. Maybe Now You See Me, Now You Don't, I just watched recently, and sure, it's not as good as Now You See Me 1, or even maybe Now You See Me 2, but there's certainly some fun elements in there and entertaining stuff and some beautiful shot cinematography. But the cast in Now You See Me, Now You Don't, with the 5 horsemen and then the 3 young people, across the board, I liked the whole cast, so I was willing to, avoid and not look at all the mistakes and just be like, I enjoy this quite a bit because this cast is great. So maybe that's kind of what happened here, and I enjoyed the villain, I enjoyed the satisfactory ending, taking out the villains, taking out Benicio, taking out the bad guy, and then choosing correctly and getting the right girl at the end of the day. I think this was John Glenn's masterpiece. As far as all of his Bond films, this is the only one that I really feel is a complete satisfactory movie with a satisfactory ending, you know what I mean? So 4 out of 5 stars. If I had to give it a true 10 score, it's probably like an 8.2, 8.3. Still 4 out of 5 stars though, so comment below your score that you would have gave this out of 5 or 10 stars. I'd love to hear those down in the comment section below, or you can send me your other James Bond thoughts to my other social medias. Links for those down in the description below. I would love to hear who is your James Bond, what is your favorite James Bond film, who's your favorite James Bond girl, James Bond car, what is your favorite? I would love to hear those things. Are you excited for the James Bond First Light video game that's coming out in May? Are you excited for Denis Villeneuve's Bond film and announcing who will be the next Bond, and who would you want to see as the next Bond? Currently it's like Jacob Elordi or Callum Turner. Maybe somebody else. I would love to hear your fan cast down in the comment section below and your thoughts about James Bond, and I'd love to chat more with y'all. But if you've made it this far into the video and you would like to support the channel, the best way of doing that is liking this video, commenting down in the comment section below, subscribing if you haven't already, and hitting that bell so you don't miss future James Bond content and you get the notifications when those come out. Like I said, GoldenEye, Pierce Brosnan's first Bond film, will be reviewed next Friday, so stay tuned for that, y'all, and I will see you gorgeous folks in the next video. Peace.